I have been doing hypnotherapy for 40 years and specializing in past life regression therapy for 30 years and a UFO investigator for 20. So I'm very varied and I have experience in all phases of the paranormal and the unusual. That's my passion, is to explore the unusual. I consider myself the reporter, the investigator, and the researcher of lost knowledge. I always want to make it perfectly clear that I am not a channeler. I don't channel and I'm not a psychic, I'm a hypnotherapist. And I've been doing hypnotherapy for 40 years. After I began doing the past life regressions with hypnosis, they asked me to be an investigator with the UFO phenomena. This was in 1986. The work I've done now over the last 20 years in this field, I have found to be positive. I know a lot of the other investigators are getting the negative and the fear, but I haven't found that. Some of the things I'm going to say might sound a little strange, because in my work, I began to have direct contact with the ETs. And that's pretty broad, but they're the ones that have been answering the questions and been telling me what's actually going on during the regressions. They said that the ideal situation would be that the person never remember anything, that they be totally blanked out, because that's the way it's supposed to be. These things have been going on since the beginning of Earth, and many of these people, they have been following them through their life with testings and with helping them their entire life. So it'd be better if they don't remember so they can go on with their life. When I was working on this for quite a while, the ETs began coming through these people, because I work in the deepest possible level of trance. They would come through and they'll say, "You're the one we're supposed to give the information to. What do you want to know?" So they have been telling me everything about what happens with these situations, where they're from, how the ships are powered, everything. And I say, you don't ever tell me, what do you want to know? Because I want to know everything. All right, in the beginning, I had a lot of missing time cases, which you probably heard about. where the person has time that's not accounted for. But in some of mine, like the one woman she left work and she was going to get lunch, and the people in the office wanted her to get lunch for them. Well, she went out to get lunch and she comes back and they said, well, it's time to go home now. We don't want it. She lost half of the day. And another time she was going to a party and she got on the freeway. When she gets there, they said, well, you could have told us you were going to be late. We're leaving now. She would lose whole blocks of time like that. So when I did the session with her, I found out she was being taken, car and all, off of the freeway. So I asked them, I said, can you do that? And he said, certainly, we can do anything. So I said, well, why didn't you take the car? Couldn't you have just taken her and left the car there? They said that would have presented a problem because the police would have come, there would have been a car sitting on the freeway all by itself. Much easier to just take the car off the freeway. I said, yes, but what about the people on the freeway? Would they be surprised seeing a car going up in the air? They said they will see it, but they won't remember what they saw. So they are able to manipulate time and space and matter. I've had a lot of cases where people will be driving on a highway and see a huge UFO right over the freeway. They pull off to watch it, and they can't figure out, why does everybody just keep driving? They should be slamming on their brakes and stopping to see what it is, because it's a very individual thing. The sightings and the experiences are only for the person they're intended for. Many people will have experiences and their husband's in bed asleep, and it's not for them, it's just for the one person. So it's a very individual thing. Some of the important information that they gave me that we needed to understand was about the seeding of the planet Earth. And a lot of people have trouble with this because they think that, where is God in this whole picture? And are they playing God? But they say this is the way life has been done throughout the universe forever. Life is never allowed to just simply spontaneously develop. That if it did, it would be very chaotic. And to produce a thinking, intelligent human being would have taken millions more years if it was happening by normal evolution than it would have taken. And it would still not have got to the point we are now. And they said they do this because they create life on other planets because this is the way they were created, by what they call the archaic ones, the ones from the very beginning, have been doing this forever. They call it the grand experiment because they said, let's give this beautiful planet a creature with intelligence and free will and see what he does with it. And I don't think they're very pleased with what we're doing with it. But the law of non-interference is very real. They cannot interfere in the development of the species. They have to just let us go along with whatever we're doing. I had another case a few weeks later at another big city in Arkansas where the woman was pulling off the freeway at night, and she also saw a huge light. She was following her as she went off into the city. And again, it was like this vacuum, no sound, no sign of life, no people, nothing. She's driving down the street, all of the lights are going out in front of her as she approaches them. And it got so strange that finally she wanted to pull in a mall, somewhere where there would be people. And she saw an all-night restaurant, but there were cars parked out there, but there were no sign of life at all. So she went on until she finally got to her house. And when she did, the light sped off, and all of the sound came crashing in on her at once. Well, when I did the session with her, naturally I wanted to know what was going on because I'd had several of these dead zone type experiences. They said, just because you see a UFO doesn't always mean you've been abducted. They said, we have to stop your world for a fraction of a second. And I said, what do you mean? They said, we have to catch you off guard. I said, we aren't on guard. They said, you're on guard more than you think you are. So we have to get your attention, stop your world for a fraction of a second. I said, then what? They said, then the information is downloaded into the subconscious mind on the cellular level. So I said, what kind of information do you mean? They said, information you will need in the future when we go through the changes, and we're going to have so many strange things happening. There'll be information that you need, and you won't even know where it came from. And this is being downloaded everywhere. This is what I found out the crop circles they communicate with symbols, and they put blocks of information into one symbol. It's all mind to mind. The subconscious mind recognizes the symbol, and it knows the information is downloaded. You don't have to be in the crop circles. All you have to do is see the symbol. And this is also downloading information. They gave me an example. They said, you communicate so slowly, you humans. You put one word behind the next word to make a sentence, to make a paragraph. They can communicate with entire concepts all at one time. The concepts are in that symbol. The example they gave me was like the word Christmas, Xmas. He said, what does that Xmas mean to you? People say Christmas, but it means much more than that. You start thinking about it, you have green and red, Christmas trees, nativity scene, wise men, Jesus, Santa Claus, silver bells. You can fill pages full of what is in that one word. That's what they mean. Whole concepts of information are passed instantaneously into the mind, and that's the way they communicate. So that is how they are communicating with us, through symbols. But something happened when the species was developing. They said if it had happened when the species was fully developed, it wouldn't have caused as much problem. But the species was developing when a meteorite hit the Earth. The meteorite had bacteria on it that was unknown to the Earth, and it created disease for the first time. And the developing species couldn't handle it. So they were very upset about it because they knew for the first time their experiment would be limited. It would have disease and then it would die. This was not the way it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be live as long as you want like they do and have no disease. This meteorite brought the bacteria that the species were not compatible with. They went back to the council and said, now what do we do? Do we throw the whole thing out and start over again? Or do we let it continue to develop the way it's been developing? It was decided to allow it to continue to develop because so much time and effort had been put into it, not to keep it from happening. But they knew it would never be the perfect species it was supposed to be. The reason I'm telling you this is because it will explain the testing and the things that people find so negative, they don't understand. Now they are doing the testing on people because they're still trying to get us back to that perfect species we were supposed to be in the beginning. They're very concerned about the increase in cancer, about the effects of the environment and our food on the human body, and they know it's not helping the human body. So they do the constant testing, and many different generations. I worked with people where the grandmother, the mother, everybody in the family have been part of this. A lot of them don't know it consciously. They're following the generations and as their development. And they check them to see how the body is responding. And when they're doing this, they are also trying to find cures for these different diseases people have, and they're manipulating the DNA in the people's body so they can resist disease, and also they are extending our lifespan. So I don't find anything negative in any of this. And that would explain a lot of these things people see when they're on the ships is the different testings, and also explains the sperm, the ova, all of that. But they have our best interest at heart because they want us to be this perfect species. We are going into a wonderful time when the whole earth is going to change. And those who have been part of this will be the ones who move into the new dimension. The earth is changing its frequency and its vibration to move into an entirely different dimension. And the rest of these people who have been experimented on and upgraded, so to speak, will be the ones that go on with the new earth, because they're the ones that can handle it. The other ones, their bodies can't. And they said the human species must not perish. We must have some survive. They're afraid we're going to blow up the earth. And they said that was the only time they would be allowed to interfere, is if we take it that far. But they want some of the species to be saved. And some people have told me, about they're here to take over the world, and I know I've heard some of the other speakers talk about the implants are to trigger them, to help them be like robots to take over the world. None of that is true at all. They said, why do people say we're here to take over the world? It's ours. It always has been. We can't do anything as bad to you as you do to yourself. So they're really afraid of us, our violence, and they're waiting for us to get out of this violence and get all of these wars and everything out of the picture. Then we can join with them. That's the idea of developing a species like this. They want us to join with them and do the same things they're doing, traveling in space, because they said we have curiosity and creativity that they think would be very important to the universe as it develops. So there's a whole lot more to this than people think. And I have not found the negativity. Once you find out why it's happening, it takes a whole different look. You remove the human fear. And they're really very caring people, and they're doing a lot to help people.
We are at the moment in a cycle of life where everybody, if you're just a little bit aware, you can feel something is shifting. Some people are not willing to maybe adapt to the change. Some people are not strong enough to adapt to the change. Some people don't know how to put it into practice in order to go with the change. It is my perspective. There will come the time, and it's not going to take long, where a natural separation is going to take place. A natural separation. The ones that are able to read the signs, that are able to go with what is happening, to adapt to the changes this world is bringing to us, they will move on to another world. They will move on to another area, to another cycle of us humans being right now here on the earth. And other people that are unwilling, unable, maybe incapable of adapting to the coming changes. It is simple like this. They will stay with the old world, which is about to end. That's the message. That's all what this is about. An old era is about to come to an end. A new era is about to come. This is worldwide happening. It's happening inside our monastery. It's happening inside of me.
So I hope everyone enjoyed the introduction to Loss of Time 2. I think I found out the answer that I was sort of looking for. Delores Cannon seems to answer some of those questions that I was after, and there are a few other things in amongst all her videos that's probably worth watching on YouTube if anyone's interested for that. And yeah, the new Earth, interesting, and the shifts that are coming. It seems to be valid, a lot of these indicators that people are talking about on YouTube and beyond. And it'll be an interesting 2024, I think. So good luck to that for everyone, and let's see how it all pans out. I've got more presentations on Terra Australis to do as well, so be tuned for that one on Tao Do-In TV. That there's a little bit more to it with the ET thing and how they develop all life. The God side of things, she didn't talk about that too much, but the conscious evolution that we have as a humanity is particularly attached to our divinity, which I'll talk about a little bit more in another video. But the conscious shift that is coming is more to do with the God spark in us and the God consciousness in us and our divine nature. And that's where we're heading into, which I talk about with the videos that I do, particularly about the kingdom that we can move into. If you're still with us, congratulations. I'll just finish off this video now and just say a few things. If you haven't already seen the first loss of time video, it's recommended that you check that out, just to give a little bit more clarity to what happened on the highway south of Woodburn. And Delores Cannon, just like to thank her for her work, even though she's not with us now. She's probably still with us in spirit. The changes the extra-terrestrial or the ET people mentioned, it seems to be quite valid. They want us to regain the pure existence that we were once back in the day, and our evolution and our divinity is on the rise. And I'm thinking that this year could be a definitive year for setting things up for that. And the emotional and psychological movement throughout our subconscious seems to be connecting each other on the planet in ways not before reached, uniting in a way that can create a destiny of a directive toward better things. And when we become more self-aware with this, I think that we will be able to make positive changes in this world rather than the negative things that have been going on in different places of the world. We seem to be pretty okay here in Australia so far. You can't take things for granted, we've got to set things right. So I'm doing a few presentations to do with Terra Australis and bringing some reality checks to us in Australia, and we'll see how that all pans out in the near future, particularly this year. because I think this is a year of transitional changes. And yeah, take care, and I'll be with you again soon.